Love first is really quite simple. All we're saying is that the Great Commandment comes first. It's before the Great Commission. The Great Commandment is love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. The Great Commission is to go and make disciples. Many times what we're finding is we're talking about strategies, and we're talking about dollars, and we're talking about the end results. But what we're finding is people don't care about them near as much if they're not connected to the heartbeat, the first, which is love. Love first. In the Ohio River Valley, we've actually used Eric Law's tools of Kaleidoscope Institute. We call them the Love First tools. And they are respect guidelines, mutual invitation, and theological reflection. This creates that space where the heart can get connected with the task, the call. On this site, we have put these 3 tools so that you can see an example of what they might look like and how to use them. You can show this at a board meeting. You can show this at a visioning time. You can show this in any setting you wish to give illustration. We're trying to help to give resources and tools into your hands so that we can accomplish this great call of God upon each of our lives. The respect guidelines permit a group of people to have conversation and dialogue that permits there to be a respect in the room that listens to each person. And so it's almost like a boundary that everyone understands and feels that there is a safety to the conversation that permits them to enter into it. And we would like to just walk through that. It's actually RESPECT. And take responsibility for what you say and feel without blaming others. It's important to use I statements. I wonder. I noticed this when you said. Owning that, taking responsibility for what you say and feel without blaming others. E, use empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is simply entering their experience. You don't have to agree with them, but you have to allow them to be able to have their own experience and be able to voice it. S, be sensitive to differences in communication styles. I know some people like to sit quietly and listen quite a while before they even think to speak. Others like to speak immediately. Some are succinct, some are spiral around a conversation. One of the things I've noticed as well for others is they'll tell stories. Now sometimes I actually get frustrated with a different style of communication. I have my style, and I want them to talk the way I want them to talk. So the reality is we have to be sensitive to those differences and respect that each one's allowed to speak in the way that they choose. The letter P in the word respect stands for ponder, and it's simple. It's simply thinking before you speak, allowing there to be a bit of a pause. E, examine your own assumptions and perceptions. The reality is we came to every one of our opinions for a reason, and it's good to examine ourselves as we communicate in a group. The letter C in the word respect stands for keeping confidentiality. What I like about this particular one is it's not about keeping secrets. It's actually, the way Eric presents this in particular, it's upholding the well-being of the community when you're not present with the group. They know that something shared will not be shared in a way that will hurt them when they're outside that group. It creates an integrity, a respect, not just in the setting of the group while they're having conversation, but a respect that then moves beyond it when we're talking in other settings about these people or these conversations. And then the final letter is T, trust ambiguity, because we're not here to debate who's right or wrong. By not debating, we can see issues more clearly. On the respect guidelines, I just want to highlight what I've seen some churches do. They'll actually take the RESPCT and the comments by each and put them, I've seen one church that made them this size and laminated it and stuck it on the wall of the board where the board meets. And they literally go over it each time, not because the hard copy's in front of them, they just point over to the sign. I encourage you to print this out, to use this regularly. The respect guidelines are really quite valuable, not only for a board meeting or for a group of visionaries, but for a whole church and how they start to interact and dialogue one with another. Our prayer and hope for you is that the respect guidelines can become the character of conversation, dialogue, and respect one for another in the church.